Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Chris. I hope you're doing good. Actually, I hope you're doing great. Today we're going to take a look at the Samyang video autofocus cine lenses. Wow, that was a mouthful. And these are the 24, the 35, and the 75mm T1.9. I did a review of the 24 some time ago. You can go check it up here. And otherwise, I'm going to talk about these three lenses more as a, real life usage, how good they are, should you get them, what's specifically good about them or not, and my personal views about these three lenses. So the very first thing I want to talk about here is the fact that these three lenses are basically the same. The only difference is the focal length. And what I mean by that is that they all three have 58 millimeters of diameter. They are all three 72 millimeters long. The weight is 280 grams for the three of them. And last but not least, they open at a maximum aperture of T1.9. Why is this great? Well, it is great because when you are on a gimbal and you want to change your lens to swap, let's say during an event, during a reception, a wedding, or whatever you're shooting, often and again, I tend to shoot with the zoom lens just because I don't want the hassle of having to rebalance, to re-stabilize and redo everything with my gimbal. In this very case, all you have to do is turn off the gimbal, lock your axis, change your lens, and off you go. That's literally all you have to do because they're exactly the same. So this is a huge advantage. Same for drone users who want to use these lenses. You can do so and it's going to make your life way easier. The other cool thing that I really like, and I think it's a very big plus point, is the fact that these lenses have the same color reproduction, the same results. What that means is when you're gonna go in post later on, you will have the same type of image with the same amount of light, the same everything, the same settings, which means that you're going to be able to match the different focal lengths of the whole series without a problem. I mentioned T-stops, T1.9 maximum aperture. What is the difference between T-stops and f-stops? T stands for transmission. So when you have T-stops, usually for cine lenses, what they do is that they give you a specific amount of light that reaches your sensor. And that amount of light is known, and it's the same throughout this series of lenses. When we talk f-stops, it means the aperture of your lens, okay? This is mainly for photography. Why? Because there can be a difference between f1.8 from one lens and f1.8 in another lens. One of them can be brighter because some of the light can get lost in like bouncing and reflections and so forth within the lens. And that means basically that when you're shooting photos, you don't care if you're losing a little bit of light, you can just compensate, you can use Lightroom later on and so forth. When you shoot video, you want to have the same or as close as possible as the same amount of light reaching your sensor at all times. So you can reproduce the scene in different days, or you can simply just match this one with this one and not have a different light between the two. So that is a great point. The fact that they actually put T-stops into these cine lenses, as they call them, on their website. And I think this is great. Next up is the focus breathing. What is focus breathing? When I do something like this, you can see around here that the frame changes a little bit on the edges. It's almost like it's zooming in, which it shouldn't do because all you're doing basically is putting something in front and showing a close focus of the object. So that is focus breathing. For photography, once again, we don't really care because you can either crop in or zoom in, zoom out, and you can Lightroom the stuff later on. For video, it is best not to have too much focus breathing. It is not a cool thing to have on a lens, on the contrary, and it might make your footage look a little bit amateurish or not very pro. All right, so I did want to test the focus breathing of these lenses, and here you go. One thing that sets apart these lenses from Samyang is, in my opinion, the autofocus, because it is not just regular cinema or video lenses, they also have autofocus. And why is that important? Because for me as a YouTuber, for example, or a content creator, I like to go out sometimes and just shoot and vlog and film myself. And you can't really do that When you don't have autofocus, I mean, you could, I did it in the past. It's a pain. It really is a pain to do that because sometimes you come back to the studio because it's very bright outside, you don't see your screen, and you realize that half of your content is out of focus. Let me just tell you that that is quite annoying, okay? These guys do autofocus, and I'm gonna show you how it looks. So I did a few tests with the 3 of them, and here you go. An important point of any lens is the sharpness. How sharp are they? Well, I did a few tests. Once again, close up, wide open, T1.9, so you can see how good or how bad the quality is, how sharp. Here you go. In terms of fringing and chromatic aberration, all those things that we don't want to see on pictures and videos, i.e. blue lines, deformation, RGB, strips, and things that happen, especially when you get real close to an object that's made of metal and you're wide open, or if you're looking through leaves and branches of a tree at the sun, you know, the typical things that show you chromatic aberration. It doesn't mean that the lens is bad because it has a little bit of chromatic aberration. Yes, it's not as good as one that doesn't. For example, an apochromatic lenses basically have no chromatic aberration, and you pay the price for that. Now, these lenses handle it quite well. Another cool feature they did implement here is the tallies. You have little LEDs, one in front here, one on the side. And unless you have an FX3 from Sony, you are not going to see when you're filming. So I do use an external monitor, 27-inch with a big red square that shows me that I am recording, okay? But what if you go outdoors and you're recording yourself and there's a lot of light and you can't really see your monitor? Well, in that case, it comes in really handy to be able to see that you actually are recording, that your camera is on, and so on, okay? Also, during an interview, the person that you're filming doesn't have to ask, are we shooting? Are we rolling? You know, it just sees. You can say, when it's red, it's rolling. And on the side, same thing. For you as, you know, the person shooting, or for whoever passes by, they can see that it is on, it is red, silence, we're recording. By the way, I take a second to remind you, you can subscribe if you like my content and you don't want to miss any of my future videos. All right, so these lenses have a future proofness that will allow you to use them on a sensor that is 8K. I currently shoot on the 4K A7S III Sony camera, but if one day, and I'm sure I will, get an 8K camera, I will be able to put these guys on and use them. So this is really cool in terms of future proofness. Cine lenses are lenses that you focus manually, right? Now these guys have autofocus and that's a great feature, but when I work for a client and I'm recording a video, I use manual focus. So you can use a follow focus such as this one from SmallRig. Tilta does a great one too, and there's other brands that do them, but personally I like the SmallRig one. All you have to do is you put it on and it works great, works like a charm, okay? Never had an issue, never missed a focus, never had any problems. It really goes great, it's very smooth. Now this is all great, but what about the price? Because pricing is a very important part of your decision, right? Okay, so the 24 and the 35 mil cost around $700 at B&H currently, and the 75 mil, we're closer to $800. So what that means is for a little above $2,000, you can have these 3 lenses. It gives you a good base to start, be it that you shoot short films, that you shoot for clients, that you want to, start shooting some cinema stuff and so forth. This is a great alternative and option. And the fact that they're autofocus means that you can still use them, for example, for an interview where you want to make sure that you have perfect focus. The fact that they're on Sony cameras, well, you know how Sony does on autofocus. That's the main reason why I'm using a Sony a7S III, because the autofocus feature is absolutely amazing. And if you want to see a bit more how these lenses perform, you can check all my previous YouTube videos that I shot since I did a review of the 24mm, because I shot them all here in the studio with the 24mm t1.9. I hope I answered all your questions. If you have any other question, write down in the comment section below. I'll answer gladly as soon as possible. There are some exciting videos coming up, so stay tuned, keep shooting, keep taking great videos and great photos, and I see you soon. Cheers.